We are dealing with kinematics of a rigid body and a system of interconnected rigid bodies. So, once again the basic, we derived two formulas: velocity of point P with respect to some frame xyz is equal to velocity of A plus We have seen these formulas again in the last class also. We looked at some cases, a special case of translating frame from this. Now today I will talk of if we have a single rigid body. First let us talk of this. And we say points A and P are both on the rigid body. There is a body on which we have 2 points A and B, A and P. Now the rigid body could be having, rigid body has a general motion and what I mean by this is, this could be translation and a rotation. And first we will take the general case of 3-dimensional motion, which means when I say this, then omega of the body is equal to omega xi plus omega yj plus omega zk, and velocity and acceleration, these have all the 3 components. Now when I write this omega is equal to omega xi plus omega yj plus omega zk, often a question comes, this is omega of A or omega of P, and what is the answer? It is the same. For the whole rigid body, omega is unique. So therefore we do not associate a point with omega. Omega is to be associated with the body. Okay, is that clear? That is the first thing, that omega is for the whole body will be the same. It is not associated with a point. Next, suppose we know there is a particular point on the body whose velocity and acceleration are known with respect to a frame. I call it as G, which could be ground, I could call it F, fixed frame, I, inertial frame, anything. So I know the velocity and acceleration of one point, and then will the velocity of point P be the same as the velocity of point A? In general, no. When will it be the same? Only when the body is translating. If the body is translating, then all points on the body will have the same velocity. Now, here when I say A and P are on the rigid body, we could also consider some special cases where a point P may not be physically on the rigid body, but we say is on its massless extension, which means that we assume that the area between the body and the point P is joined by something which is massless. But once we say it is a point on the body, what makes it a part of the body? That it also has to move with an angular velocity omega along with the body, because that is what defines the body. Okay. So then that is also assumed. So point, I will just write this for that P could be on massless extension of the body also. Okay. So now, given this, what we want to find is what is the velocity of the point P, what is the acceleration of the point P. Where would we need things like this? So a physical example where such a thing would be needed is, suppose if a body is hinged on point A and it is rotating with omega. If this is a ball and socket joint, if it is a hinge joint, then we assume there will be only one component of omega. If it is a ball and socket joint, then there could be any component of omega. Now here, from the physics of the problem or just by looking at the problem, do you know the velocity and acceleration of point A? Clearly it is 0. And then we will be interested, as you will see in dynamics, when we come to dynamics, that what would be the acceleration of the center of mass of the body, because acceleration of center of mass will be related to the total force acting on the body. So that is why where such things would be needed, that you know velocity and acceleration of one point, you want to find of the second point. In general, the second point in a lot of mechanics problems will be the center of mass. So that is the motivation why we want to do this. And this condition VA and A, which we know, will come from the physics of the problem, or you will work it out maybe using simpler physics with respect to another body. So this is there. Now given this, how do we work out VP and AP? And for this what we do is, let us fix the moving frame on the rigid body. And this is, as you will see, this will be the step, these are the steps we should take while solving these problems. So first thing is, we should identify where we will fix the moving frame on. And for this particular problem, I say we fix it on the body. So once I fix the frame on the rigid body, what is omega and omega dot will be omega of the body with respect to ground, and omega dot is omega dot of the body with respect to ground. Okay. Now then we move on to this formula. Okay. Now after we do this, the vector RPA is something which we will be working out from the geometry of the problem. Okay. And then we go to the velocity equation. Vp is equal to Va plus this and acceleration of P. Okay. Now we want to find Vp. Va is already known to us. Now omega cross RPA these are terms we know omega vector, we know RPA vector. So therefore we'll have to just work this out. Now what is the velocity of P which you will see from this frame which is on the rigid body itself? Point A is on the rigid body, point P is on the rigid body, and it is fixed on the rigid body. So you will not see any motion of the point P from this frame. So therefore velocity of P with respect to M for this particular case will be 0. Is that clear? Okay. So therefore what we get is, when we do this, we get the simple form velocity of P as seen from the ground frame will be equal to velocity of A plus omega cross RPA, which means that as far as velocity goes, it is as if we are moving in a circular motion about point A. If I fix the center of the circle at point A, then the difference in velocity, so velocity of P will be just omega cross RPA, which is omega cross RPA, R omega in the tangential direction, because RPA is one direction perpendicular to that if it is a planar motion. Okay. Now this term omega cross RPA, I think in the book this has been written as velocity of P, or this sort of a notation may be used in the book. But you should be very clear that this is, that when I choose a frame like this, then Vp with respect to M is 0, because both the things are in the same frame, we are on the same rigid body. When I come to acceleration, what do I get? Acceleration of P is equal to acceleration of A plus omega dot cross RPA. This is something again you will just have to calculate. You know the RPA vector, you know the omega vector, just carry out a cross product. Omega cross RPA, again it is something you will have to just work out using maths. Now one thing, then we have these two terms. What is Vp with respect to the moving frame? 0. We have already discussed this. So this term becomes 0. Acceleration of P with respect to the moving frame becomes 0. So therefore what we have shown is, this is how we work out velocity and acceleration between 2 points on a rigid body. Okay, is that clear? So we have used a frame, and this is how we have got these things. So let's just write this. So therefore this is velocity and acceleration of P with respect to xyz Now here, when you're, one hint I can give you, when you're working out problems, then omega cross RPA you will work out in part 1, in the velocity part. So whatever is the answer for this, you put it in a box. Why? Because when you go to acceleration, you will have to take another cross with omega. If you have just worked out everything together, then you will have to do a second calculation again. But if you have put that in a box, then you will just have to take one more calculation with omega, or one more cross product with omega. So as a working tip, it is useful just to, whatever you get in this part, in all subsequent problems, just keep it separately. At least make a note, and then so that in the next part it's easy to see. Now, so these are relations between 2 points on the same rigid body when we have a general motion. Okay. Now this omega dot cross RPA, we may also call this as the tangential acceleration. This is just a name we can call it, and this part we can call it just so that we can, it helps us in remembering. And what you realize is that between 2 points, the formulas are very similar to circular motion on a rigid body only, but now this may be different in a 3-dimensional case. It will not just be r omega square. You have to work out the total terms. Okay. Also you realize points P and A could be interchanged. Only thing with what will happen is the RPA vector will become negative of itself. Otherwise everything else will stay the same. So this relation is not only from center to a moving point. If you know a moving point and there is a fixed point on the body, even the other way around you can come with this equation. This is between any 2 points on the body. Okay, that's why I did not use C or G center of mass, because this will work between any 2 points. And it is just as if there is a, for velocity the difference is r omega component, because this is a rigid body, it cannot move along the same direction. And in the acceleration part we have a tangential acceleration and a centripetal acceleration. Okay. Now, so this is general motion, but next we take a subset of this, which is plane motion of a rigid body. In plane motion what we will find is omega and omega dot, they will only be in the k direction. Okay. RPA, velocity, acceleration of point P, these quantities will have only I and J components. So wherever you get an omega dotted with R, that will be 0. Omega cross R obviously will not be 0, that will be in a, that in this case will be perpendicular to R. Okay. And so in this case what will happen is, when I apply this equation, Vp is equal to Va plus omega cross RPA, this will take a form, and this you can physically write, if this is point A, this is point P. Normally if the omega is unknown, we assume it to be anti-clockwise, to be positive, if I take x and y like this. So now here this vector, if this is R, then omega cross RPA, this will be equal to R times omega. So omega is just a scalar omega k and RPA is this. So if this distance is R, then omega cross R will be perpendicular to AP in the direction of omega and equal to R omega, which is like circular motion. But now the only thing is A need not be the center. A can be any point, P can be any point. That's how you go. So physically in plane motion you can directly write it like this also without writing the formula. Okay. Now what about the acceleration? If I look at the acceleration, the colored things have disappeared here. I don't know ये क्या किया क्या है. Okay. So anyway, then if I look at the acceleration, this is A, this is P, then acceleration will have a component equal to R omega square going from P to A, and a component r omega dot perpendicular to AP in the direction of omega dot. So these will be the two extra components which will come in the acceleration, again circular motion, and this you can see by expanding the formula. Omega cross rho will become omega dotted with rho times omega. Maybe I'll just write it. So because omega cross rho, this becomes equal to omega dotted with rho times omega minus omega dotted with omega, or rho is RPA. So therefore this term becomes 0 and this becomes minus magnitude of omega square times RPA. So this becomes equal to minus omega square vector PA. Oh sorry, plus omega square from P to A. Okay. So these things will come in plane motion. Let's illustrate the case of plane motion by a very common example which probably you know, but so we illustrate illustration of plane motion. Let's take a case of rolling without slip of a cylinder. Okay, but I'll introduce slight complication. We have a cylinder of radius r. When we talk of rolling without slip, that means it is moving on some ground. The difference I will make is I'll make the ground not plane but a circular ground. So, and I'll make a small change. Let me call this as small r, and the radius of curvature or the radius of the ground below is capital R. The ground below is fixed. Okay. Now point P on the cylinder is in contact with ground at this instant. C is the geometric center of the cylinder. Why I say geometric cylinder? Why don't I say it's the center of mass? The cylinder may not be uniform. If it is uniform, then C will be center of mass. But, and actually, if you realize, the whole thing could even be a half cylinder, because then the other half can be considered as something of density 0. So if I vertically split it and consider a half cylinder, it's the same problem, because the other half you just say its mass is 0, or a half cylinder, top half cut off, whatever. So all that are generically represented by this. Now here I could give you two inputs. The input I could give is that point C has a speed v with changes at the rate a. So either I will give this as the input, or I will say the cylinder has angular velocity omega changing with the rate omega dot. So one of these two inputs is given to you. Okay, and what we want to find is the velocity and acceleration. Now these, I have only given you speed or angular velocity. I want to find the velocity and acceleration of point C, of point P, maybe of any other point on the cylinder. Okay. So given this, we want to work out velocity of this and maybe velocity of D, velocity of E, acceleration of any of these points on the cylinder. Now from your knowledge, if this was a plain ground, what is the meaning of rolling without slip? That velocity of P is equal to the velocity of the point P prime on the ground, and if that is ground, that means it is 0. So rolling without slip implies velocity of P, which is the contact point, is equal to velocity of P prime, which is on the ground, and that must be equal to 0 for all time. But notice the point P will change. The material point P, which is in touch, at the next instant some other point will be the point of the contact, and if that contact point is 0 velocity. What about the acceleration of point P? Will that be 0 or is it not 0? For plain ground, do we know what is the acceleration of point P? R omega square upwards. How do you get that? You are saying it is R omega. All of you know this probably. The bhaiyajis and bhabijis of coaching classes have drilled this in your head, that there is an R omega square upwards. How do we get this? Does anybody know? Let's try to unravel this. All
Rotating with omega with respect to center of mass.
omega is of the whole body.
Yeah, center of mass is going velocity v is 0. Then with respect to center of mass, its velocity is minus v. Right?
Okay, I think his basic crux you have answered correctly, that if we look at the motion, but then for that you have to show that you have to work out what is the acceleration of center of mass, because then the relation will come from acceleration, not from velocity. So what is the acceleration of center of mass? Do we know that? Now let's try to work out, and this problem is slightly more involved than the level ground. So how do we work out the velocity and acceleration of C? For that, the best way to do it is, let us think in terms of path coordinates. What is the path of point C? Everybody please try to visualize the path of point C here. It's a circle of radius r plus small r. Does everybody visualize this? And that is the basic way of solving this problem. The path of point C. So let's write this down. The path of point C is a circle of radius small r plus capital R. Okay. Now once we know this, then at this instant velocity is equal to s dot et, acceleration is equal to s double dot et plus s dot square upon rho en. Now what is et? So first let's make our, this is I, this is j, and we'll assume k to be this thing. So therefore if it is given that also the direction, if the velocity, if this is moving in the forward direction, let's say. So what is et? Et is I. Okay. And what is en? En is minus j. Okay. Now this could vary. In this case En is minus j, it's the center of curvature. If this was a gear rolling in another gear, a small gear rolling in a big gear, and it was at the bottom configuration, then what would be the radius of curvature? It would be r minus small r, and En would be pointing upwards towards center of curvature. Okay. So now we have this, that velocity is equal to s dot et. Now let's assume that we are using the first configuration, that the speed and the rate of change of speed is given to us. So therefore velocity of c will work out to be equal to v times I, because the speed is given to us as v, so therefore it is v times I. Now from here let's try to work out the velocity of point P. Velocity of point P will be equal to velocity of point C plus omega cross Cp. We do not know omega, we only know v. So from here, then let's extend this out. Now Vp therefore turns out to be equal to Vi. Now we assume omega is equal to omega k, Cp is equal to minus Rj. So when I take k cross j, I get minus I, so plus R omega I. Okay. Now what is Vp? Vp is 0. That comes from no slip condition. So therefore I get 0 is equal to Vi plus R omega, and from here I get omega is equal to minus V by R. If omega was given to me, I would have gone the other way around. Here V was given, so I work out omega like this. Is this clear? So irrespective of whether the bottom thing is a ground or a circle, velocity omega will always be minus V by R, or V will be equal to R times omega with respect to the no contact point, the magnitude. Okay. So this is omega, and now this expression is valid for all time. So if I differentiate this, with respect to time, I get omega dot is equal to minus dV by dt divided by R. So this becomes equal to minus A divided by R, assuming A is in the forward direction. So therefore what we have is, we have worked out a relation between omega and omega dot with respect to the speed and the rate of change of speed of the center of the cylinder, geometric center. Okay. Now having worked out this, now I can also write the acceleration of c. This I could have even written earlier without getting omega. What is acceleration of c? Acceleration of c is equal to s double dot et, which is ai, plus v square upon r plus r minus j. So this is equal to ai minus v square upon r plus r j. Now let us try to see, if the bottom thing is a level ground, what happens to capital R? It becomes infinity. So therefore this component becomes 0, and we get acceleration is equal to ai, which we know. But otherwise, if there is a curved path, we get an extra component of acceleration for the center. And now the original question to which we came and for which you gave the answer, that once I know the acceleration of c, I can now move to point P and get the acceleration of point P. So how do I do this? So acceleration, once I know this, then I will go acceleration of, so we have got acceleration of c, which has a component like this. This is a, this is v square upon r plus rho. Now from here, if I go to p, this is c, acceleration of p is equal to acceleration of c, and then I will have minus r omega square, sorry, it's plus from p to c in this direction, and this is rotating like this. So there is an plus r omega dot in this direction. Now you see I have written this without writing the formula. I am looking at acceleration of p. I know the acceleration of c, then there has to be r omega square from p to c. So that becomes r omega square. And then this is rotating like this. So there is an r omega dot component for this. So that's what I get. And now if I work this out, what this becomes is equal to acceleration of c is equal to ai minus v square upon r plus rj plus small r into omega square. Omega square was v square upon r omega square. Have I made a mistake here? No. Omega is v by r, so this square, okay, that's fine. Omega is v by small, okay, sorry. That's what I thought. Plus omega square, so let's write it. Plus r times v square upon r square j and minus r times a by r I. And what we realize is when we do this, the ai component cancels out. And this is what happens even for cylinder on a plane motion, and if capital R is infinity, this term will become 0. We will get an acceleration equal to r omega square upwards. Okay, this is how the acceleration of point P comes. Fine. And once we know the acceleration of point A or P, now we can find acceleration of any other point on the cylinder using these formulas. Once acceleration of C has been worked out, I can actually move to any other point. Now C being the geometric center, what may happen in some problems when we come to dynamics is the center of mass may be at some other location. So if you have to work out the acceleration of center of mass, then you will have to do this. Okay, fine. Now for plane motion, we also have, so this was one example. Now for plane motion of rigid bodies, we also have a concept of instantaneous center of rotation or instantaneous axis of rotation. And what is the instantaneous center? This is a point on the rigid body or its massless extension whose velocity is equal to 0 at this instant. If there is a particular point on the body whose velocity is equal to 0, then that point is called the instantaneous center of rotation. Now the word instantaneous means that this point may not be permanent. It may keep on changing as the body moves. That is one thing. The second thing we have to keep in mind when we use instantaneous center is that its velocity is 0, its acceleration may or may not be 0. It's just the velocity which is 0. And therefore, why do we want to use instantaneous center? If I can locate the instantaneous center, then to find the velocity of any other point on the body, all I have to do is r omega with respect to that. But keep in mind, acceleration may not be that. Acceleration, you will also have to add the acceleration of instantaneous center and then r omega square and r alpha. See, we have already seen between any 2 points on the body irrespective of instantaneous center, the difference of the velocities is r omega, the difference of accelerations is r omega square e in the towards center and r alpha tangential. So, but then you also have to add the acceleration of the instantaneous center, otherwise you will be making a mistake. But then how do the reason why this becomes is sort of we use this concept is because then we can work out the velocities maybe in an easy way. And for this, suppose if I have a body and I know the velocity Va, and there is another point Vb whose velocity is also known, or whose directions are, maybe one of the Va is known and for Vb the direction is known. In fact, if we know the two directions, then we can locate the instantaneous center, but unless we know one of the Va, we will not be able to get omega. Now, how do we work out the instantaneous center? We draw a line perpendicular to Va. Because the instantaneous center obviously has to be perpendicular to Va, because only along this line if the instantaneous center is there will the velocity be in this direction. So, we draw a line perpendicular to Va. Similarly, we draw a line perpendicular to Vb. So, draw lines perpendicular to Va and perpendicular to Vb, and the points where these lines intersect, this will be the instantaneous center. Okay. Why? Because instantaneous center has to lie along this line, it also has to lie along this line, so therefore this has to be the instantaneous center. And if I am able to locate this and if I know Va, then Ai times omega is equal to Va, so therefore I will be able to get omega of the body. And if I know omega, then I can say Vi times omega will be Vb and Ci times omega will be Vc and so on. So therefore I will be able to get velocities of different points on the body using the concept of instantaneous center of rotation. It will, well, let's see, if Va is like this and Vb is in this case, then either, see, this the direction is known, so that means Va was known fully, so Vb probably has to be in the opposite direction, you know that line. So you are right in this case, so I should probably correct myself by removing the tip of the arrow and just saying the direction of Vb. Now, these sort of situations, and why this has come is that graphically when one tries to solve, this becomes a straightforward method, and at least in mechanical engineering, in a lot of the kinematics and dynamics of machinery courses, you draw machine parts and then they are connected with different bodies, and then that's how you work out. Of course, the simplest case of instantaneous center would be when a body is rotating about a point, then about that point of rotation is the instantaneous center. In case of rolling without slip, the contact point is the instantaneous center and so on. But then the acceleration point is very well illustrated by this, that when we have rolling without slip, the contact point is instantaneous center, but its acceleration is not 0. So you can't say that acceleration of center is equal to r omega square plus r alpha with respect to the contact point and say that its acceleration is 0. You will make a mistake. So these are some of the things. Now from this, then we can move on to problems of plane motion of interconnected rigid bodies. So here we have, I will give you some examples. AB, we have, now again as I said, this is plane motion. So we have a link AB which is connected by pin to BC and to CD. Okay. In this link, let us say I call this body 1, body 2, body 3. If omega 1 and omega 1 dot are the input motions, can we find omega 2 and omega 3 if the geometry is known? Okay. So this is what we call as a 4-bar mechanism. Why do we call it as a 4-bar mechanism? Actually there are only 3 bars. The 4th bar is the ground. So this is called a 4-bar mechanism. This is one type of a problem. Then we could have a problem of again a similar thing. I should probably have got we have, this is what we call as a slider crank mechanism, that there is a slider which can move along some path, and this is what is a crank which will roll it. So here for example, this is body 1, this is body 2, body 3 is the slider, omega 1 and omega 1 dot are known, and we want to find the velocity and acceleration of point 3. Okay. Now again omega 2 dot we do not know. So what you will realize in typical problems like this, one angular velocity, one angular acceleration is given, and you need to find either the 2 angular velocities and 2 angular accelerations, or 1 angular velocity, 1 linear velocity, 1 angular acceleration, 1 linear acceleration, but then you need to know something from the other end in this case. For example, here you know the direction of velocity and you know the direction of acceleration, because it has to move like this. I can make this slightly more complex. I can put this slider in a curved path. If I put it in a curved path, then from the curved path I will have to use path coordinates, so that I will know acceleration of this will be s double dot et plus s dot square upon rho en, other way around, and plus velocity will be just velocity along the et direction. So even if this is a curved path, the problem is not too complex. Another variation of these type of problems, yes. अभी मैंने बताया नहीं क्या करना, अभी तो मैं प्रॉब्लम बता रहा हूँ. I will tell you how to do after this. Okay, I am just introducing the problem so that you understand. Another variation of these type of problems could be let me just there is a cylinder connected to a link, connected to another link which is hinged to the ground. Okay. Now here this could be either connected at point C or it could be connected at point D. It could be connected to any point. Maybe I should have shown it connected not to the center but to some other point. Now once again, if I give you omega 1 and omega 1 dot, and I ask you to find what is omega 2 dot, omega 3 dot. Omega 3 is of the cylinder, omega 2 is of the rod BC. Now in this case again we have some input from this side, that we know velocity of this point will always be 0. So from that we will be able to get some information and move. Okay. Now what you asked, how do we solve problems of this type. In solving problems of interconnected rigid bodies, what we have to keep in mind, the basic thing is that a point which is common to two bodies has the velocity which will be the same. So whether you look at the velocity of point, let us say B, if I look at velocity of point B with respect to this bar, what will be its direction? Try to think of the path of point B. It will be in a circle about point A. So at this instant, velocity of B will have a direction like this. And if I know omega, I know the velocity of point B. Then when I come to body BC, the point B is common to body 1 as well as body 2. So its velocity on body 2 will also be the same. And that is the main thing we have to use when we solve problems like this. So let's try to see a problem. Let's try to see the first case. A 4-bar mechanism. So one, two, three. Let's name the points A, B, C, D. So omega 1 dot given, geometry is given, and we wish to find omega 2 dot, omega 3 dot. I am writing these as scalars because this is plane motion, so they are about k. Okay. So how do we start? We start, since we know the input motion at point 1, let's go to point velocity of point B. Now because everything now here is with respect to ground, I will not write with respect to capital XYZ. That is all assumed. Now do we know the velocity of point B? Velocity of point B is equal to, now I can directly write it, this will be equal to AB times omega 1 in a direction perpendicular to AB. Now because the geometry is known, that means I will know VB fully. So I will write it as VB is equal to something I plus something j, where both of these brackets are known to me. I think all of you will be able to do that. Okay. Now we move from here to point C. Now when I move from B to C, again notionally what I am doing is I am putting myself on body 2, and then I say VC will be equal to what? VB plus BC times omega 2, where omega 2 is now with respect to ground, not from 1, it is with respect to ground. So therefore VC will be equal to VB plus, if you are confused, you can use, either you can use this omega 2k cross vector BC. Okay. Now VB, let us say this is AI plus BJ, I am just using AI plus BJ, this is VB plus omega 2k cross BC. This will be either, again if you know BC will be something I plus something j, take a cross product with k. So when you do this, you will get something containing omega 2i plus something with omega 2j. This is omega 2k cross BC. Okay. Now what we will do is, we will approach VC from link 3. So approach VC from the other side, And when we approach it from the other side, what I get is Vc will be equal to Vd plus omega 3k cross dc. Okay, Vd is 0. Omega 3k cross dc will give me something omega 3i plus omega 3j. Okay, now what do? I just equate the two VCs, because VC has to be the same, and that's what I said was the principle here. So when I equate, I will have two scalar equations and two scalar unknowns, omega 2 and omega 3. So I will be able to solve for omega 2 and omega 3. So when I do this, we have two scalar equations, equate Vc. First I should write that, okay. Equate Vc. So that means that will give me ai plus bj plus something omega 2i plus something omega 2j is equal to omega 3i plus omega 3j. Now equate I and j components, and that will imply getting two equations, two scalar equations, two unknowns, omega 2 and omega 3, and you will solve this. Okay. So now whether you follow the cross product or you directly write the components is for you to decide. I may say you should always write the cross product. So then people will come and tell me, sir, wo to bada easy tha, I could have easily looked at the geometry and got my answer. Why do you want me to calculate the cross product? So I will leave it to you, but if you are looking at the geometry and calculating these components, please be careful about the signs. Otherwise you may end up getting this thing. So now this is the velocity part. Now if we were to do only the velocity part, then we could have also tried to see, suppose, can I locate the instantaneous centers of the three links? What is the instantaneous center of link 1? A. Instantaneous center of link 3? D. What is the instantaneous center of link 2? So basically we have to look at the direction perpendicular to VB. What is the direction perpendicular to VB? Along AB. It's perpendicular to AB. So therefore, if I look at this, if I extend AB and if I extend CD, this intersection point is instantaneous center for link 2. Now, because I know VB, then what I can do is, I know IB, if I have located I2 times omega 2 will give me VB. So therefore I will be able to get omega 2 directly. But then locating I2 may not be that easy. That will be equivalent to solving those two equations in a general geometry. If you can find it easily, then you can use this. Okay. And similarly, once you know omega 2, then you can work out VC. What is VC? Omega 2 times IC. Once you know VC, you can find omega 3 from link 3. That VC is equal to CD times omega 3. So that will give you omega 3. So if your problem was only to find omegas, you could have also used instantaneous centers. And sometimes when people in mechanical, we ask them to draw drawing sheets and use drawing sheets and draw all the velocities proportional to the length. And using that, then they often work out these velocities and acceleration, and that's why these methods of instantaneous center sort of grew. Okay. But then now how about the acceleration? We still have not completed the acceleration. So let's move to the acceleration part. Acceleration part actually, as far as the method goes, will be the same, but there will be more terms. So let's see this. So to find omega dots, omega 2 dot, omega 3 dot, we go to accelerations. So now we have acceleration of B is equal to acceleration of A plus AB times omega 1 square in the direction from B to A plus AB times omega 1 dot in a direction which is perpendicular to BA. Okay. Acceleration of A is 0. So acceleration of B, or I can write this as omega cross AB. So sorry, let me put it in a full proper way. This will be equal to omega 1k cross omega 1k cross AB plus omega 1 dot k cross AB. So again, as I said, either you use cross products or you use this thing. So this means this acceleration of B is fully known. Omega 1 is known, omega 1 dot is known. So acceleration of B, you will get it as again is equal to, let us say, Ci plus dj. Something I is something in j. Now we move to acceleration of C. Acceleration of C will be equal to acceleration of B plus omega 2k cross omega 2k cross BC plus omega 2 dot k cross BC, or you do it physically. Now what you will know is this term will be fully known. We have worked out omega, so this term is fully known from velocity solution. So now in this we will have, this will be written as something omega 2 I plus another thing omega 2 dot j, and we do the same thing. Now we approach AC from link 3. So we will have AC is equal to AD plus omega 3k cross omega 3k cross DC plus omega 3 dot k cross DC. Now once again AD will be 0. This will be known from the velocity solution, and this term can be expressed as something omega 3 dot I plus another thing omega 3 dot j, and then we just work it out. So again equate the two values of AC, two scalar equations, two scalar unknowns, and you will be able to solve. Is that fine? Okay. Now, so that's how we do this problem of interconnected rigid bodies. Next, let's move on to slightly more complex cases. So this is cases where now the slider mechanism is something similar. In slider mechanism, what will happen is, suppose if you have to solve a problem of this type. So now from A you will move to point B, you know velocity of B, from B you go to C, but then you know the direction of velocity of C. velocity of c will be s dot et. You do not know s dot, but you know et. Now in cases like this, sometimes it's useful to take a dot product of the expression with the direction perpendicular to et, because then one of the variables will go away. If you say the velocity is s dot et and you equate the two velocity vectors, you take a dot product with a direction perpendicular to et, then s dot et will go away. That means you take a dot product with en, and in the other side you will have only omega 2 dot, and when you equate that, you will be able to get omega 2 dot in one go, because there is a constant term, there is a term involving omega 2 dot, and when you take a dot product with en, you get a constant part and a omega 2 part, and that will give you the answer. Okay, something similar here. In this case, while you don't, what you know is the direction of Vc, you know this is 0, so with respect to this you can work out the direction of any other point wherever this is connected, and so then again you know the direction. Similarly for acceleration parts, here you will have some extra component of acceleration because you know the path of the point C, so then you may have to go from C to the connecting point. So these are the different type of problems we have. Now the next class of problems which is involved is that, suppose I did a problem in the last class. I talked of a plate in which we had a circular slot, and we said in this circular slot there is a point P. Point P has a speed equal to V with respect to the plate, and it changes at a rate A with respect to the plate. Now in this case, the case which I did in the last class, the connection was on two rods which had the same length, and the rods were rotating with omega, and this plate was in translation. Now in this case what I do is, this is exactly a similar problem, but now the plates is rotating about the point O. So this is all fixed. The plate is given an angular velocity and angular acceleration about the point O. Now the plate is not translating. Now I ask you to find velocity and acceleration of P with respect to ground. Okay, I'll also need to give you some more information. Let's say the radius of this circle is R, and at this instant let this length be V. The point is directly below the center at this instant. It could be at some angular location. I don't want to make geometry more confusing. It could be solved in a similar way. Now for solving a problem like this is not a problem where the point P, now this plate is a rigid body, but the point P is not a part of the plate. It is moving with respect to the plate. So therefore what I have to do is, I have to use the general formula. Is that clear? In this case, now if I have to find, so the question says find V and A of P with respect to ground. Okay. So how do I do this? Now let's just, I'll clearly write this is equal to VA plus omega cross RPA plus velocity of P with respect to m. I'll just quickly write these formulas and then I'll explain how we solve these problems. The formulas, as I told you, these will be given to you. These I have just rewritten the two general formulas. Now, to solve this problem, what I should do is, first of all, I should exploit this velocity of P with respect to m and acceleration of P with respect to m. That means I should choose my moving frame in such a way that I know the velocity of P with respect to that frame. So now, in this problem, which is a simple problem, what is the velocity with respect to which frame do I know the velocity of the pin? I know if I sit down on the plate, how do I see the motion of the pin? In the circular groove. So therefore, because I know, so I choose, because of these reasons, I choose the moving frame as the plate. That's the first thing. So let us choose the moving frame as the plate, and then I should mark my axes I and j. I'll fix the origin later. Let me just show the general directions. So now, having shown this, what is, once I fix the frame m, I should be able to write two things. First, I should be able to write velocity of P with respect to m, acceleration of P with respect to m, omega and omega dot, because these are the things which have got to do with the frame. Okay. So now, what is velocity of P with respect to m? This is the same as what I did in the last class. This will be equal to Vi. What is acceleration of P with respect to m? It is Ai plus V square upon R j. Okay. Now, in the last example, omega and omega dot were 0. What is omega now? Omega is equal to omega k, which is given to me. Omega dot in this case is quite simple. Omega dot with respect to ground, so omega dot k. Okay. So now let me look at my formula. Now the next thing which I have to do is identify a point A on this frame. Now, what are the qualities of this point A which will make my problem easy? What do I need from point A? I should be able to work out its velocity and acceleration easily. Okay. So now, in this plate, what point A should I choose? Now, tell me one thing, will these change with the point A or they will stay the same? They will stay the same. They are with respect to the frame. So now, obviously, at least there could be 2 or 3 points I could choose. Is there a point on this moving frame whose velocity and acceleration I know a priori? The fixed point O, it's a point on the frame. So let me solve the problem by choosing O as A. So I choose the point O as the origin of the axis on M. When I do this, after I choose O, I should be able to do two things. Let me work out what is velocity of O, what is acceleration of O. velocity of O in this case is 0, acceleration of O is 0. And also then I should be able to write, and this will come just from the geometry, what is the vector? RPA. This is equal to RPA, and this will be equal to minus Bj. Now what you will realize is I have worked out all the masalas for this recipe. All the ingredients for this recipes have been worked out. All I have to do is I just have to substitute things. What is Va? 0. I have already written it somewhere. Omega is omega k crossed with RPA, which is minus Bj. So therefore it will work out to be B omega I. Vp with respect to m, we have already worked out. So then let's work this out. So then from here what we get is Vp with respect to capital XYZ will be equal to velocity of O plus omega k cross minus Bj plus velocity of P with respect to small xyz. So this will be 0, this will be equal to B omega I, and Vp with respect to m, we have already written this is Vi. So this is equal to V plus B omega I. And velocity part is sort of quite straightforward. You have added the two velocities. The velocity of a point P prime on the frame, which is at the same location, plus velocity of P with respect to this. But the surprises come in the acceleration. Let us look at the acceleration. Acceleration of P with respect to XYZ, this will be equal to AO plus omega cross, so plus let us say omega k cross omega k cross minus Bj plus omega dot k cross minus Bj plus Vp with respect to m plus 2 times omega k cross Vi plus Ap with respect to m, I have already written it, Ai. These are the 5 terms. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And because we have a relative motion with respect to the moving frame, the 2 omega cross V term is not 0. If we just add the two accelerations, the acceleration of the plate, which is this part, plus the acceleration of the point, which is this part, still this part will be missing. And this part will come in the acceleration. This is the Coriolis acceleration, and it comes because the moving frame is changing its direction. So when you work this out, this will turn out to be, let's work it out, this is equal to 0. The second part, see again omega k cross Bj, this will give me plus B omega square J. This term will give me B omega dot I. This term k cross I will give me J, 2 omega Vj plus Ai plus V square upon R J. So I add up, and as I said, if you just add the two accelerations, the acceleration of the point P with respect to the plate plus the acceleration of that point which is coinciding with P on the plate, you will not get this term. Okay. Now another person, I have taken this frame, I have taken origin as point O. Somebody else could have taken the origin as point P prime, which lies at this instant on P. Now when that student does the problem, acceleration of origin will not become 0. It will contain these two parts, because that is the acceleration of P prime. But then for that student, the vector P prime is 0. So then these two terms will become 0. These terms will come in acceleration of O, but these two terms will become 0. This term stays as it is and this term stays as it is. So you get the same answer. It doesn't matter where you choose the origin, but you have to understand the terms clearly. Now here, this was all planar motion. The problem could have been slightly more involved if I put this on a plate, but instead of rotating the plate like this, I rotate the plate about the vertical axis and there is a groove in the same thing. So there, what will happen is it will be the same thing, but only the direction of omega will change and the direction of these things. So you will have to just then work out how these things are happening in the problem. Now we are still not done in the next, that with chapter 15, and that will still be a part of the minor. The last part, which is what I will cover in the next lecture, will be multiple reference frames. When we have three-dimensional motion, I will just illustrate a problem of that type. Suppose I have a rod which is rotating with omega 1. On this rod there is a bar and this bar is rotating with omega 2 with respect to the previous bar. Okay, and on this I have a wheel and the wheel is rotating with omega 3 with respect to bar 2. We have a point P here. I want to find the velocity and acceleration of point P with respect to ground. Okay, or to make life more complicated, there is a fly which is directly approaching point P and we want to find the velocity and acceleration of the fly. So this type of thing I will take in the next class. Yeah, thank you.